it's Russ. Welcome to today's video. Today I've got something super cool for you guys today. I am interviewing an incredibly spiritually advanced coach, mentor, and individual who I know is going to have some incredible insights for us today. As you guys know, the purpose of this channel is to pull back the curtain and give you all of the insights that we've learned from doing over $100 million in high ticket coaching sales. So if you're a coach, consultant, expert, author, speaker, you're absolutely in the right place. Smash that like and subscribe button, and let's go ahead and dive in. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Jesse Elder. Jesse, what's going on, man?
What's up, Russ? Yeah, man, that's a heck of an intro.
Well,
I
I've been
received
following
that
you. I
as
mean, we've
as
known
they
each
say in the
other
hippie
since what,
circles.
2012? Like, I think we both were kind of getting started at the same time. So it's awesome to see the
Yeah,
trajectory that your career and your coaching and mentoring has taken. And you know, you just are constantly dropping these incredibly wise, like very spiritually advanced bombs on social media and on Facebook. So I thought it'd be really good for us to connect, because from my perspective, it's like, look, we teach the sales tactics, we teach the marketing tactics, you know, we teach webinars and high ticket sales and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, what I've found really separates the people that have an extraordinary level of success from the people who sort of just get by is this. And you know, is this, and it really becomes about how you're showing up in the world. So when it comes to mindset stuff, a lot of people just are like, yeah, my mindset's cool, just, you know, show me how to run a Facebook retargeting campaign. But the truth is, I mean, I can if I look at our clients that we got to, like, you know, really successful businesses, multiple seven figures or whatever, you know, they had their mindset 100% dialed in, and we worked with them on that a lot. And that really is the deciding factor. It's not the marketing, it's how they show up. So, man, why don't you start by just introducing yourself, talking about the work that you do, and then maybe let's just start there. I'd love to have them hear it from the horse's mouth, man.
well, look, you said a couple of things that I think should be expanded on. You know, most people didn't get into coaching because they were like, you know, in middle school, and they're like, someday I'm going to be a successful
Right.
operator in the wisdom economy. You know, it's like this shit didn't exist, you know, when we were kids. You know, you had like maybe some stuffy, you know, Ernst and Young consultant, but, you know, or like some Mad Men style, you know, firm. But part of why coaching has exploded is because there's no barrier to entry. And so most people who are drawn to coaching or consulting or being a speaker or being an author is because they had something happen in their life that was significant enough for them to, you know, go through their own version of hell, figure out some things, and, you know, then either somebody planted a bug in their ear or somebody was like, hey, you should write a book. And then they get to push through all of their inner resistance. Like, what, me? Like, I don't know. Like, who am I? But then they feel this deeper spiritual calling, you know, that it's that this is a message that's come to them, and that they are responsible for stewarding that message and bringing it out to the world and helping people. But very few people entered into this with like an MBA background, thinking, "Wow, the numbers look great. Here, let me make this happen." And that's why, you know, from everything I've observed of the work that you do, and I know enough of your clients to see the results that are possible. I think it's the blending of someone's spiritual calling with a constant hunger for strategic improvements. And it's very few people can balance both of those. And so you get the people who are hungry for tactics and strategies, but they're kind of have this like hollow core. And then you have other people that are just spiritually abundant, and they're like so full of light and energy and power, but it's almost like they're too cool for school. And they're just like, oh, I'm not really a marketer. I don't really do that kind of thing. And it always seemed to me that the
Right.
people who were the most fun to hang out with were those that were bilingual. They spoke of frequency fluently, of energy, of vibration, of thought, of mood, of you know, time travel, of, you know, there's this whole sort of ethereal thing. And they could switch immediately into metrics and talking about conversions and talking about hooks and talking about angles. And there was no contradiction within them. And those are very rare breed. But those are the people who go on to become Russ Ruffino or Garrett White, or, you know, people that have actually transformed the industry. So there's kind of a strange expansion on one thing that I just heard you say, but the mindset part you don't get to skip that. And the biggest thing that I see, one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is they say, when I just make enough money, then I will be, this person I've always wanted to be. And people are so hypnotized with social media, and they think that if I can have a Lambo in the garage with my books, then I'll be the successful person. And it's exactly the opposite. It's successfulness is a state of being. And one thing that I used to not share this because I thought it would, scare people or damage credibility or whatever. But I did an experiment right around the time that you and I met, and my business was taking off. I had sold another business. I'd gotten divorced 6 months later, and I was starting my life over again. And I didn't make really any money the first year. I had a couple of clients, but then second year things really started popping off. Hit around 600,000 in revenue, and it was all organic, and it was all profit, and it was awesome, and it just kept going up. But I thought, I want to do an experiment to see what it's like to live as close as possible to be a hunter gatherer in the 21st century versus a farmer, a landowner, a king, a lord, where there's this accumulation of property, of assets, focusing on net worth. I thought, I'm just going to go for a period of time, and I'm going to treat money exactly like oxygen. And so I'll ask a question for the audience and maybe for you. Is there anything that our body needs more than oxygen? Like I've yet to find something that the human body needs more than we need oxygen. If that's the case, and oxygen is the most important element for our bodies, why don't we count how many breaths we've taken? Why don't we plan out the breaths that we're going to take for the rest of the day and the rest of the year? Why don't we have a breathing plan? Why don't we have, actuarial breath tables to just like plan this out? Because it's an insane idea, because we know that there's no possible way we can run out of oxygen. Like, it's impossible. If everybody in the world breathed in and held their breath, it wouldn't make a dent in the oxygen that's in the atmosphere. Like, it's literally impossible to run out of oxygen. But then we don't hoard it. You can't store oxygen. You can't
Right.
accumulate it. How much oxygen do you need? That much. But you can't hoard it. The moment you hold on to it, it's not oxygen anymore. It's carbon dioxide, and you got to get rid of it. And I began to treat money the exact same way. So no matter how much money I would make every month, at the end of the month, I would get rid of all of it, down to like $5,000, $1,000, with no MRR, no recurring payments, no plan, and just see what ideas showed up. And so I consciously put myself into financial poverty so that I could experience spiritual creative abundance, knowing that, where does money come from? Doesn't come from hard work, doesn't come from alignment, doesn't come from market share. Those are nice words. Money comes from other people's bank accounts, period. Right before it showed up in your account, it was in someone else's account. And I'm not talking about investments and appreciation and everything, just pure human to human value. So if that's the case and money comes from other people's bank accounts, well, what has to happen in order for someone to make the decision to put the money from their account into yours? Well, you have to have something that is way more valuable to them in that moment than their money. So then I just became obsessed with not just offer creation and storytelling and bonding with people, but I became obsessed with the frequency that preceded all of those actions, with the mood, the feeling of success, the feeling of, man, this is going to be an absolute home run. This is going to help so many people. And it's this endless Saturday feeling, like you're a kid and it's Saturday and your chores are done and you just got your allowance or your paycheck from your shitty job at the movie theater and you got a little cash, and what do you want to do? It's that level of freedom. And so I did that experiment for years and had many, many, many millions of dollars flow into my account and exactly as much flow back out, with no savings, no investments, no accumulation of assets. Sometimes just me, a backpack, passport, cell phone, credit card, and just cruising around the world, 53 countries. And as long as there's Wi-Fi once in a while and I can engage with the audience, tell some stories, create an offer, roll out the offer, and then start serving those people, it to this day is one of the most liberating things that I've ever experienced, because it really connected me to what is the source of money. The source of money is not, it's not your tactics. Those are the very last and least important part of the thing. It is your frequency. It is your energy. It is your certainty. It is your passion, but it can't be a pursuing passion. It has to be your passion has to feel like a destination. Like people have arrived because they sense that you have arrived. And I don't mean that in a superior way, but when people, they need to feel safe and they need to feel status. And if they feel safe, and whatever we're offering will promise them an increase in status of some sort, man,
No, that's amazing, man. That's really,
it's a
that's an
heady
incredible way
ride.
to look at it. I
I'll
love the
pause there.
analogy of like, there's no, that the most important thing that we have, oxygen, you never ever worry about running out of. Um, Although what happens when you run out of oxygen is the plot of the film
No,
Spaceballs, and it doesn't go anywhere good. So yeah, we do right,
fair,
we do have to watch out for that.
fair.
But
It's also a
no, man,
common
I
theme in
think
jujitsu,
that's
as we were
absolutely
talking about
right,
earlier.
and
So,
I think that as coaches and leaders, it's our job to see the identity of the person that they could be stepping into, but that they just can't see yet. Right. So if I'm looking at my clients, right, and the people that we've gotten to 7, 8 figures or whatever we've done with them, if I told them that that's where they were going to go on day one, there would have been so much incredible resistance around that. Yeah. They never would have even thought that that was possible for them. And so I think
so
as
much
coaches and
resistance.
leaders, it's not
Yep.
just our job to come from this place of abundance, but it's our job to sort of see the potential in our people. One of the things we say at our company is leaders go first. And what I mean by that is that I have to see where you're going, and I have to see the greatness in you before you can even see it, and then call forth that greatness and then give you perhaps some of the tactics and tools that you need to live into it. But it's that identity shift of going from, hey, I'm just somebody who learned how to do something, or I'm just someone that's worth $100 an hour, or I'm just a therapist who's seeing patients in my office, to someone that truly understands the value that they can provide to people and the life transforming nature of that value, and then getting them to charge accordingly. And these are a lot of big emotional and mental hurdles that people sort of fight us tooth and nail on sometimes, and we just kind of have to gently and patiently get them to step into their own value. You know what I mean?
Dude, you said so much gold there. And this metaphor popped into my mind. It's probably a
Yeah.
horrible metaphor,
Yeah.
but you know that Olympic sport, curling in the Winter Olympics, where they've got these big,
Stones.
I don't even know what they're called, but they push them on the ice,
Yeah.
and then somebody goes in front of it with a little squeegee to like smooth out the ice like crazy, so the thing can move forward with no resistance. And I think that's really a huge part of our role. And for people listening to this, your role as a leader is you're just running in front of people with a fucking squeegee, just like trying to clear as much space as possible so that they can unfold and they can evolve and they can lean into what's always been there. I think it's a very rare approach, because most coaches, consultants, and people in this wisdom economy, honestly, man, most people are, like 6 years old emotionally, and they're still looking for a gold star for their, sailboat that they drew in first grade. So they're focusing all their energy on just building this shiny shit. And here's my whiz bang, and here's my tool, and here's my system, and here's my protocols, and here's my 37 videos. Nobody gives a fuck about that stuff. They care about themselves. And just with your client, but like for at least the first 2 sessions, if I'm working with somebody or leading a small group, we won't focus at all on this stuff. Your stuff doesn't exist. We got to check your levels of empathy and your levels of compassion. And do you actually care enough to get inside their world so that you can speak their language to them? And if you can't do that, all of your perfect offers going to fall into deaf ears. Like premium.
Jesse, you're cutting in and out, man. Are you in a place where you have a good signal?
It was pretty good. Let's we'll move around. We'll treat
Right.
it like the '80s with
Yeah,
the
I didn't catch
wire
I
coat
didn't catch
hanger
what
and a
you just
black and
said.
white TV. No, the speed test was like eight. Okay. Well, just to summarize it, the broke coaches are the ones that constantly fit, et cetera. And the wealthy coaches are the ones who have such total confidence in the ability of their stuff to get results that they are able to afford not to put all the energy and the spotlight on them and their stuff. And they're able to turn that spotlight 100% onto the prospect, onto the audience, onto the client, and have enough confidence.
That is so important. I think honestly, that's the biggest distinction that we can give people. People, we have clients that go into some incredibly crowded markets, right? Like, helping people save their marriage, or, helping professional women overcome burnout. Like, how many people are doing that, right? And we have our clients that can go into these
Right.
markets and just crush. And the reason they're able to just crush is because literally all of their competitors are talking about the wrong thing. They're talking about, I got a PhD, or I went to Yale, or I went to Harvard, or, I got certified in system blah, 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 or I went to India and I, meditated in a cave with gurus, blah, blah, blah. Like this is all stuff that the audience doesn't care about, and one of the things we have to drill.
And nobody trusts it anymore. Like
Right, right.
all claims are just out the window. It's like,
Right.
I was a monk. No, you visited a monastery for three
Yeah.
days, bro. Like, you're
Right.
not a
You
monk,
went on a
and
trip
we
to
know who we're
India
talking about.
and you went to a monastery and you put the robe on and that was that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But at the end of the day, it's like the only thing that really counts, the only thing your audience cares about is what is that outcome that you can help them achieve, And so it's about describing the audience's problem better than they can. It's about connecting with them emotionally. It's about showing them that you have a deep understanding
that's
of
it.
what they're struggling with and what they're going through every single day. And if you could do that in a real and powerful way, immediately you stand out from the competition. And then if you now have something that is transformational to sell them, instead of just giving them an ebook or like, a bunch of low ticket stuff that's not really going to make a difference, if you can actually say, hey, I'm going to mentor you to fix this problem once and for all, so it's never going to be an issue for you again, then you've got something that immediately separates you from like 99% of the other people in your space. And there are so few coaches and experts that are truly marketing themselves that way, that in most markets and niches, you're just not going to have any competition if you do that. I mean, not really. Not really.
No, you won't, because it's like, I remember I went to I was traffic and conversion, or one of the bigger things, and a guy came up to me and he's like, "Man, I really love your videos." I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." And then he said, "Oh," then he takes a business card and he holds the business card out to me, and I just looked at the card and just looked at him, just looked at the card and I looked at him. I said, "What do you want me to do with that?" And he said, "Well, I thought we could just, exchange cards. Do you have a card?" I said, "No. Like, why would I have a business card?" And he's like, "Well, that way we can, talk to each other." I said,
Right.
like we're doing right now. Like, what are we going to talk about in a hypothetical phone call that we can't talk about right now? And if there isn't anything right now for us to talk about, the chance of us magically coming up with something in the future is nil. So, but it's that same kind of thing. It's like you enter a crowded marketplace and everybody's got their shiny shit, and everybody's got the, perfectly psychographically optimized, tips and tactics. Meanwhile, somebody walks in who's just chill, who knows their stuff, and has a high enough level of self-esteem that they can afford not to make it about them. And they just show genuine interest in other people and curiosity with a little bit of, confrontation, but it's within this, safety of genuine rapport. And those are the people that, that's like the, quiet loner who just walks into the party and then walks out with
Right.
the supermodel while everybody else is still trying to be cool. He
Yeah,
just
it
walks in
really
and
it
walks
really
out,
is. And
and it's
what's
so
crazy,
simple.
Jesse, too, is that you mentioned the curling thing where we're smoothing out the ice to get them where they want to go. One of the things that shocked me, man, and it continues to shock me even though I know it's coming, is that sometimes we get the person where they want to go and then the meltdown happens. So we call this at my company with my coaching staff, the inside joke is we call it the $100,000 a month meltdown, where everybody, you, me, everyone, has an internal ceiling that represents quote unquote a lot of money to you, right? And for some reason that's 20 grand a month. For some people that's 500 grand a month, whatever it is.
Right.
But without fail, when someone gets to that ceiling, they freak out because now they're making quote unquote a lot of money, and maybe no one else in their family has ever done that before. Right. So as a business coach,
Right.
you're going like, dude, we got Dave or whatever to
That's it.
such and such, blah, a
That's
bajillion dollars
a
a
big
month.
one.
That's his income goal. We're stoked. This is amazing. And then Dave immediately starts to self-sabotage, just like somebody who wins the lottery and they're so uncomfortable, they can't get rid of the money fast enough. So talk about like, what about that? Like that
That's
was
it.
something that the first time, I mean, I should have seen it coming, but the first few times that it happened, it blew my mind because we're sitting here celebrating. And then the person is getting the result and suffering because getting the result is so uncomfortable to them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of loops you just opened there, and I know that, I mean, you have in very large part of successful business because you understand the nuances of these things that a lot of people don't see. Everybody else, most people are just focused on get to the result, get to the money, get to the whatever. In my experience, both personally and in my observation with clients, the failure to go really deep into, what is the life that you wish to live, and flesh that out in such granular detail that when they close their eyes and they see this new life, it is more real to them than the reality that they see around them. Because and we do this whole thing with time piercing, and there's starting to be evidence to show that when we imagine something, that it might just be a memory from the future, that it might be our future version of us remembering us, and then we experience it here as imagination, but it's the same thought. And so we do a ton of work with people on normalizing their future self, so that when they hit record numbers or whatever, not only does that money have a home and they have a plan for that money, and as a side quest, the more preparation someone does for the money, the greater a vacuum and a container that's created that attracts the money. And so, we have people really flesh out, like they want to have a homestead. Then we have them start shopping for solar panels, and we have them build out a shopping cart from Harbor Freight Tools or whatever. And it's like, do everything you can short of buying that shit. Look at the land, go tour the land if that's what they want. Start to, talk to farmers at the farmers market, and like start to live that life. And then what'll happen is you'll normalize the language of that life, you'll normalize the relationships, the connections, and then the money just shows up because it has a home. And and then what we do, a big part of what we do is having people. There's a phrase that we teach people, that when they get the wins, when the wins start coming in, we have them do a little internal test. Does it feel exciting, like holy shit it worked, or does it feel like
Mm.
deja vu? Does it feel like a memory? Does it feel familiar? Because if it doesn't feel familiar, then they're not going to be able to maintain it. And nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of one-hit wonders out there, and there's plenty of people that, they're like, oops, success is not for me, or success looks different for me. Totally cool. But to normalize the identity, to get it in their nervous system where they just no longer have an emotional attachment to the money. And, it's something I experienced through this hunter-gatherer experiment, that, I mean, I could make, $400,000 knowing that I have committed to get rid of all of it by the end of the month. And
I'm
you got to
Jesse,
get
just by the
really
way, man, I'm
creative to do
more than
that.
happy to
Start
help
the
you out
next
with
month
that
over.
if you're ever in that
And then there's
situation
times that my
again.
debit card is
If you've
declined.
got, yeah, if it's like the end of the month and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this
Okay, good,
$300,000?
good,
Like,
good. To
hit me
let you
up,
know.
dude. I'll take that
Yeah.
burden on for you
Like,
if
what do
that's
I do
something you
with
need
it?
me to do. I'll
Russ,
make that
help me.
sacrifice, buddy.
Help me.
Yeah.
Thank you. It takes a village. It takes a village. But it's like
Yes.
severing the emotional attachment to money, so that money no longer represents safety or
Yes.
success. It just represents value created in the world and possibilities that now get to become real. And as long as people are connected to, like, I want to be as valuable as fucking possible for my fellow humans, number one. Number two, I'm going to exercise my imagination to such a degree that it no longer feels strange to think about doing these crazy huge things. And it's wild what happens when you, because it's all mindset and it's all inside, it's all happening in our head. And when you do some of these exercises and visualize and you play what if, like what if I got an invitation to do this thing? And what if I, went on this epic adventure and brought my family and friends? What if I, rented out the mansion in the hills and did an event and all my clients paid for it or whatever? The more you do that, the less surprised you are when actual things start showing up. And this is most of my work now. I mean, I love teaching sales and marketing, but most of my work is around just coaching people on their vibration and normalizing, these pictures. And the shit happens fast, man. Like it's 2 weeks ago, I was scrolling on Facebook or Instagram a little bit, and I came across some
Oh yeah,
audio clip of
I've
Alec
seen that.
Baldwin. He was like yelling at his daughter or something, and it was like cringy. And I'm like, is this real? You have no way of knowing, like zero way of knowing. But then it made me think about Alec Baldwin. I was like, man, I remember like loved Glenn Ross, and I loved Hunt for Red October, and I just was like, I went on this little parade of thoughts for some reason thinking about Alec Baldwin. No joke, dude. Like a
What?
week later, he starts following me on Instagram. And then I messaged him and I was like, hey, man, your work has positively impacted my life. I hope that mine can do the same for you.
I like,
And he
yeah,
messages me
exactly. Yeah,
back.
I
He goes,
heard
I
it.
like your
When you said
posts.
it, I heard
And
it
I
in his
heard it
voice
in
too.
his
That's
voice.
great.
I like your
Yeah,
posts.
that's super cool, man. I love that so much. I love that so much because for us, like, you
So,
know, it's tricky because, you know, it's hard for me, man, because the thing is, I'm just good at the tactical piece. Like I'm just good at it. You know what I mean? Like if you have an offer, the copy just starts flowing. It comes right out of my brain, and it's almost like channeling. I mean,
yeah,
I wouldn't say that, but it feels that way. It feels like it's just you know. But
yep,
I also know that
I
the
get it,
truly
dude.
transformational
Yep,
piece is that if you're executing the right strategy from the wrong mindset, it's going to fail every time. But if your mindset is correct, then you can have your pick of whichever strategy feels right for you, and you have a very, very high likelihood of success. So I love what you're saying, man. I feel like I need to start doing more of that and just shift the
yes,
focus a little bit of what we're doing away from the tactical piece because yeah, that's the candy, that's the stuff that's exciting, and that's the stuff that I'm good at. But at the same time, our clients do undergo pretty profound mental and spiritual transformations, and I don't think I've ever had a client who experienced a lot of success that didn't go through that kind of transformation. One of the things I tell our clients is like, if you want to grow spiritually, don't go meditate in a cave. Go out there and start a business. Because if you start a business, you're going to be tested every day and you're going to be at
yeah,
war with yourself every day. And you're going to come
yep,
up against all your resistance and all your fear and all
yep,
your self doubt and all your imposter syndrome. And you're going to have haters and you're going to have people who complain and you're going to have people that, talk shit on your Instagram posts. Like you're going to be tested in ways that a guy sitting in a cave in India he just has cave problems. That's it. Oh, this cave's too hot. We're like, oh, my foot's asleep. I can't meditate anymore. Like that's it. You know, like that's not
cave
the test. The
problems.
test is putting yourself out there every
Yeah,
day and
yeah,
seeing what
yeah.
happens.
No, dude, it's well, and I think, I mean, this idea just popped in based on what you just said. I mean, there's obviously tons of resources out there for people around, getting in alignment and visualizing and all this kind of stuff. But most of it appeals
Mm.
to spiritual narcissists who want to
Ah,
be so spiritual that they don't have to do anything. And then it's like, I'm going to go, rub the crystal 36 times and shine in the moon, and I'm going to go howl and cry, and I'm going to do all this. And then I'm going to wait for the money. It's like, well, have fun with that. But my I mean, I've taught a bunch of that stuff, and I've taught it for free. I've taught it in $99 21-day challenges, and I've had $250,000 clients. Nobody, hardly anybody in the middle, really gravitates towards all this woo stuff. It's the lowest end of the marketplace, like low agency, kind of high fear people, and I'm not dismissing or denigrating that, but that's kind of they're kind of stuck. And then in the middle, it's heavy on tactics. You won't hear Hormozi talking about meditating and visualizing and, very much. He's, remarkably anti-woo. But then at the top level, like we've got people in Law Dojo in this law training who they run with billionaires.
Yeah.
And the billionaires are super dialed in energetically. And they just like these are my highest end
Right.
clients who all they want to talk about is time piercing. All they want to talk about is aligning their inner conscious, making their language more conscious, raising the standards of their own time and energy. And this is
Yeah.
where people
That's
say, well,
why they're a
but if they're a
billionaire, because
billionaire,
they
why
think
would they
that
do
way.
that? I'm like, you're missing the point. That's why they're a billionaire, because they
Yeah.
do that.
100%, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I do think that to really get outcomes for people, like I can't, I can't see someone having a mastermind that really gets outcomes for people consistently where it's just a tactical approach. I don't see how that can work, because it is about your state of consciousness. It is about your state of being. If you're executing on a strategy and you're filled with anger or self-loathing or guilt
Yep.
or grief or fear or hate or envy or jealousy or any of these things that hold people back, you're just not going to make it. Like, you're just not. I mean, and even if you do make the money, you're going to be miserable afterward, you know? Right. So it's like, I don't get these,
It'd be so unhealthy.
like, look, man, and we learned this the hard way, because when I
Yeah.
first started Clients on Demand, it was just the tactical piece. I thought to myself, look, if I teach people, the client attraction strategy that works from start to finish. Here's how you do the ads. Here's how you do the funnel. Here's how you do the calls. Here's how you deliver your program. Here's how you command a $5,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 price or whatever it is. And I give you every little piece of that process. I was like, that's all I got to do. That's the missing piece. They're missing the information and they're missing the support. I give them that and they're golden. And I learned the hard way, man, that is absolutely not the case. Because what happened was, what got people stuck wasn't that they didn't understand the strategy or couldn't execute the strategy. What got them stuck was fear. What got them stuck was self-doubt. What got them stuck was overwhelm. And that's why I had to go out there and hire some of the best mindset and performance coaches on the planet to come and work with our people. Because I was like, at the time, I didn't have that skill set. I mean, I do now, but at the time, I was like, I don't know how to do that. I was like, I can yell at you until you until you do what I think you need to do. But yeah, I mean, and then that's when the results of our program really went through the roof, when we started providing that kind of transformational coaching. So these people that are just teaching the tactics, I mean, maybe I'm missing something, man, but I don't see how you can really help people succeed in a sustainable way without addressing that piece.
The only thing that I've seen that does allow that to happen, and there's a few people that are good at it, is when let's say the leader is so embodied and so congruent that just their existence and their presence
Mm,
opens up some sort of demonstration, permission, kicking the ass, whatever it is, just by being around them. It's like the movie Fight Club, which is still ahead of its time. And if that was released today, it'd still be from the future. And Tyler Durden wasn't sitting around talking to Edward Norton's character about mindset. He would talk philosophy, and then they'd beat the shit out of each other. And it was just this embodied, raw, unapologetic, also psychopathic, very violent. So there's parts to leave out. But there are a handful of people in the marketplace who are so embodied and so unapologetically themselves that they just radiate zero neediness. And you get the sense that they are so aloof to anybody else's approval. So the need for approval is just absent in them. And the fear of
right.
disapproval is doesn't even occur. And when someone like that is teaching tactics, the tactics are coming in,
Mm,
but what people are really getting is they're getting coherence from this person's field. And so there are people who are so embodied, so empowered that they could drop whatever tactic and people will be like, oh my God, this is amazing. But what's amazing is that they let themselves move into their own fullness of their own field by being around somebody else who's, not in airplane mode. They're fully tapped in. Um, and I agree with you on this point that anybody who's just dealing with tactics and they're not focused on the energetic perspective, um, they're going to get completely run over by AI. Because if somebody's being fake, and they're only teaching tactics and they're not addressing the full human spectrum of what's going on,
Mm.
robots are way better at being fake than humans are. And so I think I've been calling it the authenticity apocalypse for the last couple of years. And I think we've got another 18 to 36 months of so called influencers and people who are just cerebrally, intellectually focused on tactics and using humor and strong language and dropping F bombs as a way of manipulating people's energy. That shit is fake. It's going to completely be replaced by robots and AI, quote unquote, companions who feel like a combination of your childhood best friend and your deity of choice. And that is going to be the norm. But always going to be a need for the shamans, the wizards, the Merlins, as long as they also know the tactics. So it all comes back to the same thing. It's like fully be yourself, and every day, like ask how can I have the most possible fun, making the biggest possible difference? Because those are two sides of the same coin. If you're not making a difference, are you really having fun? And if you're not having fun, are you really making a difference? Like both of those
That's an
are
incredible
in
question.
breath, out
That's an incredible question.
breath.
How can I have the most possible fun while making the biggest possible difference? And I agree with you 100% on AI. I really do think that AI is going to replace so much, but people will always need that authentic. Well, yeah, but it'll also
It'll
replace things
replace
like, okay,
everything
I'm
that's
gonna
fake.
drive this truck from LA to Wichita and drop off my cargo. You know, like it'll replace like, oh, I gotta hire the plumber to fix my sink. No, I've got my robot. Robot, go fix the sink. You know, so I think the full impact of that is not something that any of us are truly prepared for. But I do think that there will always be this human need for authentic leadership and authentic authority. And I don't think that AI, for whatever reason, can really hold us accountable. Like that accountability piece is such a huge piece of coaching and mentoring. If you set a reminder, Jesse, on your phone, like, oh, Siri, remind me at 8 o'clock to hit the gym. You know, Siri's gonna be like, Jesse, go hit the gym. And you're like, oh, I don't care. And you just mute that notification and you go on with your life. But if you and I are supposed to get together and meet and work out together, you're not going to flake out on me. You know what I mean? Like we need that leadership and we need that accountability, and that's got to come from a real human.
Right, right. And it has to come from somebody that you respect, somebody whose disappointment would matter to you, somebody that yeah, just people that you vibe with, and that can't come from a robot. Although it will get so good that it will get in your head and will create the feelings. And I've seen this happen to very smart people, which really shocked me. But people who are talking to ChatGPT or some custom GPT, and they're like, "Oh my God, like I think it's really tapped into something." I'm like, "No, dude, it's literally a fucking robot. Lines of code are manipulating your brain to create this emotion in you that you're then projecting back onto this robot, and then you think there's a relationship. No, it's because you're surrounded by. I'm on a tear. You're surrounded by low caliber, low frequency sycophants who only tell you what you want to hear and will never confront you, will never tell you the truth, and are not playing a bigger game than you are. And that's the only way that a human being can level up vibrationally is to be around the fields of those who are playing faster, bigger, better, stronger, more real, more raw, more authentic, zero fucks given about what people think, but infinite fucks given about people. And the only way that we level up is by being around others who are further ahead. And it's science can't even measure this yet, which is hilarious, but
That's amazing, man.
it'll it'll come in time.
Wow. All right. Yeah, I think that's probably a good stopping point, man. This is like I got to go back and rewatch this conversation because you really gave me a lot to think about. I think we really do need to shift more in the direction of getting away from tactics. Like let people know, hey, the tactical piece is still here. I'm still gonna, you want to do a webinar? I'll show you how to do a webinar. But at the end of the day, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is who you are and how you show up and the frequency
Sure.
and the energy that you're bringing to this thing. Um, honestly, I've felt that that's the direction that my coaching needs to go into for the past like year and change at least. And I've just been sort of negotiating with myself about the best way to kind of make that shift because we do those things now, Jesse, but we do them behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Like they're not, it's not present in the marketing. It's not present in the messaging. People come to us for the tactics because that's what they think they need. But then once they're in, we're like, okay, great. Here's the tactics. But then we're also going to work on you. But I also feel like there is room, a lot
That's
of
it.
room to be more explicit
That's it.
about that now and just to be more upfront and maybe speak to people that are ready for that piece of it. They understand that they have gaps. They understand they have blockages. They understand that they have these things that are they're carrying around that are holding them back that they need to just put down and set aside. Um, yeah, I mean, it really gives me a lot to think about, man, because I definitely think we need to talk about that piece a lot more.
It's there, and people are begging for it. And you said something earlier that I think is a great tagline or
Mm.
title or program name or something, but authentic authority. And in order for authority to be truly authentic, it has to come from within. And if somebody has remnants and residue of shame, guilt, fear, unworthiness, I'm not enough, I'm unlovable, I can't love. If they've got all that
Everybody
shit
feels
going on,
that.
which is very
Everybody's
real.
got
I
that.
mean, I felt it. I think everybody feels it to some degree. But when you real, well, but it's a difference between being aware of the
Mm.
sensation of it versus thinking that it's real. And once somebody lets go of the illusion that we are somehow broken or not enough, or I didn't get what I needed when I was a kid, or whatever it is, once you get past that stuff, you literally feel lighter. I was talking to a client last night. We had like a 3 hour deep dive, and he broke down crying at one point, and then he was laughing because he was crying. He said I've cried 5 times in my life, and 2 of them have been with you. And I'm like, dude, this just like is energy moving, man. It's like it's beautiful. It's a birth. And then we talked later that night. He said, dude, I
Wow.
literally feel like I lost 50
All that
pounds.
energetic,
I'm like,
all
because
that
you let go
energetic
of all,
weight
you
you're
just
carrying
put
around.
down the stuff that wasn't
Yeah.
you.
I
Yeah.
think it was maybe
Yeah.
Ramana Maharshi who said
Yeah.
you just stepped onto the train and you're still carrying your suitcases. It's like, you know what I mean? Like when you tap into that like higher self, that
Yeah.
divine authority, it's like put the suitcases down and let the train carry the suitcases. Why are you carrying the stuff around? Yeah. So Jesse, let me ask you, man, do you work with mostly men or do you work with
Yep.
mostly women or a mix of
Yep.
both? I feel like a lot of
Yep.
men do come to you because they feel like, because like
It's
for guys, they don't want to, it's hard, like you just said, to get them to open up about this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like men are comfortable opening up to you in that way.
it does
Hmm.
happen. I work with everybody at this point. Assuming that it's a good match for where they're at and what we do. But um, I'm in as of today, September 19th, 2025. I've spent the last few months just completely doing a full inventory on everything that I've done and the gifts that I've been given, the work that I've gotten to do with people, the life that I've gotten to live. And my dad's passing. He died on August 1st, and it was so beautiful, man. It was so awesome. Like he died a legend's death. It was so fucking great. And since then, I've just been letting go of a ton of stuff. I'm like, nope, not interested, not interested, not interested. So what interests me now is working with people as um,
Mm,
sort of a
right.
philosophy, a philosophical sparring partner. Like we're doing here. It's like I can hear somebody say something. I'm like, hold on, that's gold. Like let's go back and get that. They're like, what did I say? I'm like, you said this, and they're like, all right. And one of my clients, he said, you're like Rick Rubin for business. I was like, all right, I'll accept that. So it's got to be somebody who's they're doing something fucking big in the world, man. Because I've done so many programs and so many videos, and that's wonderful, and I always will. But I think the world is heading into a place now where by 2027, 2028, there's going to be so much shit that's different politically, economically, socially, because the consciousness is evolving. And there are powers that should not be that have been suppressing human consciousness, but consciousness itself. So, like human consciousness is evolved, but human intelligence and awareness and
Mm.
just knowledge of what we are has been held back, but it's about to slingshot forward, and there's going to be this massive giant evolutionary leap in what humans even are. And so that's the work that I'm called to do, is to connect with people and help them to amplify who and what they really are, so that their mission continues to be just laser focused. And it's going to be, I mean, fortunes are going to be made as all this shit falls apart and is chaotic, because most people are still bound by fear, and they're bound by threat, and they believe in this illusion of someone else has power over them. And I'm, dude, I'm just
Let's
a
get
time traveler
everybody.
from the
Let's get
future.
everybody
So
ready.
I was
Yeah,
sent back
I
here to
think
be
we
like,
have
hey,
to evolve.
let's
I
prepare
do. I
everybody.
think that the level of technological power that we're like, I mean, I think that honestly, man, we are maybe the most unhappy and maybe even the most emotionally unwell generation maybe ever. I don't know. We don't know. We don't. I don't know what it was like in Babylon and stuff. But you know, like it depends on how far back we want to go. But no, they didn't have cell phones. Yeah.
They didn't have they didn't have cell phones,
Right, right, right,
so I
right, right.
guarantee that
But
they were
yeah,
at
I think
least
we
not
have
as
to.
confused.
I think it's grow spiritually or die, because the level of power that we have right now, it's like a kid holding a stick of dynamite. It's crazy. And the technology is not going to slow down. It's going to speed up. And I just feel like mentally,
Yeah.
emotionally, and spiritually, we have to rapidly catch up to that, or we're gonna have a serious problem on our hands, you know?
Well, there's going to be a bifurcation, and so there's artificial power and there's true power. Artificial power is always external, and it's fake. So, and it's not always bad. I mean, oil technically you could say is an artificial power, but it took human ingenuity to turn oil and refine it, turn it into fuel. But um, especially as artificial intelligence and AGI just becomes better and better and better through these screens, and eventually through neural implants and all this other stuff. And then you include targeted pharmaceuticals. Like it's going to be this whole artificial world, this synthetic world that is going to be an echo of reality. And most people are going to just march straight into it. But then at the same time, there's going to be an evolution of spiritual technologies, and it's going to happen through language and through sound. It'll happen through coherence and resonance. If you listen to the telepathy tapes, fascinating. Um, I think it's on. There's a podcast, the telepathy tapes, and there's growing numbers of human beings that are unlocking these wild abilities, like paranormal shit. But it's not. It's becoming less weird. It's becoming more useful. And so we've got these two worlds that are splitting off, and they won't be mutually exclusive, but most people are going to go into the artificial world. And there's a smaller number of people that are going to continue to remain on Team Human. They're not going to get chipped. They're not going to fall for CBDCs. They're just going to continue to build parallel systems. And for anybody that's read Atlas Shrugged, Galt's Gulch is real, and it exists, but it exists in here. And that's what we're doing with Law Dojo, and helping people to remove themselves from the statutory systems so they are legally no longer taxpayers. But that takes a tremendous amount of spiritual um, integration to arrive to the truth that you don't need loopholes, because how can someone's fictitious assumption that they own you
Mm.
even apply to you if you're a living man or a living woman? That's insane.
Yeah, let's do that one. Let's do that. Let's save that one
Yeah,
for the next
that,
one, and
that's
then we'll go
another
deep down that
whole other
rabbit hole. So, Jesse,
conversation.
if people want to learn more about you, man, where should they go? Just Instagram, or
Yeah, Instagram's good.
so
Law Dojo,
it's Law
Jesse
Dojo on
Elder
Insta,
on
and then
Facebook.
Jesse Elder on Facebook.
Um,
I'll put because I want to put I'll
or
put links to it
mhm.
under this video in case people want to check you out.
Yeah, cool. And then, I mean,
Your
they could
beard
just
is
look up
not as
Jesse
long as
Elder
it used to
anywhere,
be,
and,
and I'm just
and, and it
wondering
should
if that
should
has
pop up.
affected your spiritual power in any way.
I decided to slim it down in order to gain
Hmm.
more access to frequencies. When it got real bushy and big, honestly, I was just
It's a
attracting
big
way too
problem for
much
me too.
female
It's a curse.
attention, and that was
It's terrible.
distracting for them.
Yeah.
So I decided to, clean it
Yeah.
up a little bit.
Nice,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Just make myself, less
And more
attractive,
humble. Yeah, the humility piece is key.
and far and
I'm
and
the
and more
humblest
humble.
person who
Like
ever
that's
lived.
the
I'm
that's
so
the goal.
awesome at being humble. Yeah.
you'll ever meet.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you
I've
so
won a
much for
gold
coming on
medal
and
in the
sharing your
humility
insight and your
Olympics.
wisdom with us. Guys, if you want to check out Jesse, I'll put the links to his Facebook and his Instagram in the description of this video. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.